Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar this morning. We hope you and your families continue to be safe and healthy. And I'm very glad you're here today, and glad to see that you have not experienced webinar fatigue. I know a lot of you are getting numerous requests for webinars, but I think the opportunity today is going to be a good one because you're going to be rewarded at the end for hanging in here today. Not only is the content going to be excellent, but we're also going to have a nice little thank you gift here at the end. Unfortunately, I just received a text from Blake Billinger. He is the sales account executive at a large group, Anthem. He says he won't be able to join us today. Anthem has a rate call apparently for Q3 at 10 o'clock today, so he had to jump off and go do that. And I know some of you want to go ahead and attend that as well. So we're actually going to make this short and sweet today. Make it 30 minutes so that way we can get you as much information as possible. This information today is actually going to be sent to you before the close of business. And all the questions that are asked, please go ahead and ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll get all of those answered for you. And with that, let's jump in. So our agenda today is pretty simple. It's going to be the Beere&Purves team. As you know, a lot of businesses have been displaced and are working from home. And a lot of agencies on this call today have all been displaced as well. So the normal flow of business has been disrupted. So having an extra set of hands available to you is going to be critical going forward. Also, we're going to talk about COVID-19. I know a lot of you have heard a lot about this. But being able to go ahead and take all this information and put it into a concise format is actually going to be a great way to save you time. And the whole purpose of today's webinar is to figure out how to do two things. One is to go ahead and save you time, and two is how to increase profitability for your agencies. We're also going to talk about Anthem Blue Cross Large Group. Also wanted to make everyone aware we do have the ability to quote Anthem Large Group for group sizes 101 to 300. And that is not only for Anthem, but it's also for HealthNet. So anytime you have a quote request, please send those to us, and we will go ahead and get you those large group quotes for 101 to 300. We're going to talk about the Anthem Wellness and Supplemental benefits. These are often overlooked, and as healthcare costs continue to increase, it's really important to make sure that we do have full disclosure on all the benefits that these employers are buying. And then lastly is CalSavers. I know a lot of large groups over 100 already have a 401k in place, but what's interesting is that a lot of blue collar companies don't. And so some of the statistics, why is California requiring employers to now put together a mandatory saving program? Because according to Northwestern Mutual, 1 in 3 Americans have less than $5,000 in their retirement savings account. And unfortunately, those that do have a savings account, 401k, 3 in 10 Americans are dipping into that retirement savings to pay for debt, unplanned medical expenses, and college tuition. So that is why the state of California is forcing a savings plan. We just want to make you aware of it, and we'll touch on that briefly. So now let's look at our team that's here to help you. Again, as I mentioned, with all the displacement going on, it's really important to operate as efficiently as possible. And so the team is myself. If you have any questions on the front end, on the sales end, and Heather Lewis is going to be the person that is fielding the RFPs as it relates to large group. I did speak to Heather this morning, and she mentioned there's a couple of things that she's seeing as we've been working on a number of these large group quote requests in order to increase the efficiency. And number one was she mentioned that the information that's needed requires a minimum of 5-year carrier history. Oftentimes when we get the request for quote, they simply have the current medical carrier that's in place. Please remember that we do need the 5-year carrier history. That's always going to be required. Also, whenever you're requesting those life and disability quotes, they do require the salaries, so please keep that in mind. And also for disability, please include the job titles. So those are some of the things. We have an RFP sheet that I will include in today's presentation when I send this out to you. And we know that you have your own, so please use that and just use this as a supplement if you have any questions on it. As you come down this list, you'll notice that Heather Janke's the underwriter there. Berlin is going to help with broker picks. We're going to talk about that. As I mentioned, one of the key things is to increase profitability for your agencies during these challenging financial times. We do have a plan to do that for you when we partner on these Anthem large groups and HealthNet large groups, and we're going to talk about that. Jennifer's in place if I'm ever unavailable. And then Randy is really somebody that we want you to lean on. Anytime there is an issue with eligibility, billing, claims issues, Randy gets an enormous amount of problems resolved for us. So whenever we hear no, we call it the opening negotiating position, please let us know and we'll put Randy to work to try to make sure that that no becomes a yes, depending on the situation. So now let's talk about what's been in the news for the last month, this COVID-19. And today, the mandatory state issue went out on March 19th. Today is day 26. And given the rest of the country, we've done a great job of trying to keep this virus under control to the extent we can. And the carriers have had to make a number of changes in order to accommodate this. And so what we wanted to do is one of the key items here today is when you see this COVID-19 webpage, I just want to share this with you. This is going to have all the information that you're going to need to respond to a lot of the questions you're getting from all the carriers, and we've consolidated very nicely onto one page. So when you go to our website, you'll see that this is everything you need to know about COVID-19. It has all the carriers listed here. So as we scroll down, these are all the carriers listed. These are all in alphabetical order. If you want to have a question regarding United Healthcare, you just click here on the box. It'll scroll you down. Everything regarding COVID-19 for United Healthcare. How are they handling testing, telemedicine? These are all the resources that are available here. And in addition to this, when we go all the way to the top, there's COVID-19 FAQ. When we click on this, this is my favorite because this consolidates everything into one document. So when this comes up, you'll notice all the carriers are across the top. Down your left-hand side are all of the questions that you're getting most common. So for example, let's talk about Anthem. And for Anthem, by the way, the large group and small group, the way they handle the situation is exactly the same. So right now, a lot of the questions are coming up are regarding what about new business deadlines? We have employees that are spread all over the place. Nobody's coming into the office. We need more time to get these submissions in. So if you have a 4/1 or 4/15 date that you want for Anthem Blue Cross, you have until the end of 4/29 in order to get that in. One of the biggest questions we're hearing is how are employers who are not making any revenue, how are they going to pay their premiums? And can they offer a leniency when it comes to their premium payments? Well, you'll look at here and you'll notice that Aetna and Kaiser have given a 60-day grace period. So that means if you have the premium that was due on the 1st, you have until 5/30 to go ahead and pay that premium. The other carriers, specifically Anthem, CalChoice, and United Healthcare, are offering it on a case-by-case basis. These are the carriers that said, wait a minute, not every business has been in a position where they cannot pay their premiums. So please contact us. We'll deal with it on a one-on-one basis. And in most cases, if there's an argument to postpone payment, they're happy to accommodate that. So we're still waiting for some of the others here. You'll notice that for premium payments, right now, all the premium payments, people do not like to be going to the office and messing with checks. It is all online payment is allowed. These are the links below. And what's going to happen now when we have employees that are furloughed or reducing their hours? Can they still stay on the plan? Well, with Anthem, yes, they can, even if they're not working or furloughed. As long as the premium's paid, we can go ahead and through 5/31, they're going to reassess it at that time. And these are how the other carriers are handling this as well. Special open enrollment is another topic that's been a hot topic. What if I have a carrier that was a 1/1 effective date, excuse me, a group plan that's 1/1 effective date, and then we've gone ahead and waived? Can I come on now? And the answer is yes. So when you look at this for Anthem, for example, if I waived at my initial enrollment and I come on now, as long as I have by 4/15, which is tomorrow, used to be tax day, no longer, we can go ahead and get that employee enrolled. So that's really helpful. The carriers are doing everything they can to be as accommodating as possible. Once these employees come back, are we going to require them to go through the waiting period again? And the answer is no, depending on the situation. Anthem says as long as they come back through 5/31, we're not going to have them go through that waiting period again. And then Aetna says as long as it's through 7/31, they're going to be okay. Now, what if I have a plan? I have a gold plan and I need to go ahead and save some money. Can I downgrade off anniversary? And the answer is yes for a lot of these carriers. And you'll see some of them have said no, but most of them are pretty accommodating. And then what do we do about the waivers? If I have a situation where an employee has the virus and they need to be tested and treated, how are the carriers dealing with that? Well, what's interesting is you'll see Anthem is covering it. As long as it's in network, they cover the costs for the testing and the treatment. And those costs are covered through 531. Where did we get all this information? All of the information is found on these links below. These direct you right back to the carrier site, so that way you have access to that information. So these are your great tools that'll save you a lot of time as you're going forward. Please share these with your team so that way they can go ahead and get the responses out to your groups that I know you're getting inundated with at the moment. Now, some of the other key things we just want to make you aware of is that what if I have an HSA account? Are they going to pay for my first dollar testing? And the answer is yes. So the IRS put together a notice that says if I have a high deductible health plan, the testing and treatment for COVID-19 is not going to jeopardize the plan. There's also been some big changes concerning how the president is expanding benefits for employee benefits, protecting the paid sick leave, FMLA, and unemployment. Those are all available, as well as the Covered California has basically expanded their open enrollment through June 30th. And finally, the insurance commissioner requested that all of the carriers provide a 60-day grace period. Now, as we just saw, 2 of them did, and that is going to be Aetna and Kaiser. The others are basically saying, contact us and we'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis. So those are some of the updates we just want to make sure you're aware of given this current situation. Now, let me ask you, is our situation getting better or is it getting worse? This was something that I thought was kind of interesting when we still can't find toilet paper in the stores around our areas here, but now we're seeing it being returned. So this is a sign that maybe things are starting to change. Things are not as bad as maybe we thought initially, and at least there's some movement heading the other direction, which is nice. So let's talk about Anthem Blue Cross and why it would make sense to partner with Beere&Purves on a RFPs of 101 to 300. Number one is that the partnership increases the support and it doesn't impact you or your client's bottom line. The cost is exactly the same whether you go to Anthem directly or through us. What is the difference? The difference is the quote is expedited. Because we get the RFP, we're able to actually code it into Anthem's format, and that's what Heather Lewis does and sends it directly into the Anthem underwriting to get the quote turnarounds faster. Once a group is implemented, as far as if it is sold, we have a faster implementation process. And the reason for that is that once the applications come back to us and they're either in paper or census, we're able to load them directly into the Anthem system and load them within 24 hours, where it typically takes 3 to 5 days. We have unlimited enrollment meetings. And when we first wrote a group that a lot of you are familiar with is called Pandora, we did 10 enrollment meetings for them. They had a small conference room at the time, but we were able to go ahead and get that done. And we have the bilingual available at no cost as well. The big thing that I cannot stress enough is it is a true GA override and does not impact the rates, commissions, and bonuses. This is an arrangement that is different from other general agents. Our rates are exactly the same whether you go through us or direct. So we would encourage and love the opportunity to partner with you. And lastly, as I kept mentioning, is we want to make sure during these financial times that are a little tough, how can we increase profitability? And is where broker picks will come in. So speed and accuracy is going to be the theme of this presentation. When I think of speed and accuracy, I think of our friend here, Tom Cruise, with the aircraft that he flies in. Many of you know I was an Army officer and an airborne paratrooper jumping out of a perfectly good aircraft. I was hoping to have an opportunity to do something like what our buddy Tom is doing here, but realized it wasn't quite for me. But I do think speed and accuracy is the key difference that is going to be when you're coming through us with our partner with Anthem Blue Cross as well as with HealthNet. So let's talk about how this process works. And it's really 5 steps, very simple. And it's broken down into what do you do and what do we do, and to make sure that this whole process is very smooth. And the first part, step one, is very simple. You'll obtain the information, the rates, the benefits, and send the RFP to Heather Lewis. Once she has that, she's going to go ahead and standardize the quote, convert it into Anthem format, and then send it directly to the underwriting team and carbon copy the account exec, so they all are in communication, knowing that the request has been sent. Step two is that the rates are going to come back, and then this is really important to understand. You are in complete control the whole time. We are simply your supporting cast and crew in this process. And so the rate negotiations, a lot of you on this line are very good at that. And so you take over, negotiate directly with Anthem. If you need any assistance, we're obviously happy to do that. The things that we really like to see in the negotiations are, number one, is the wellness discounts. Now, we've seen $10,000 and $20,000 worth of wellness discounts being applied to groups. We've also seen premium holidays of half a month. And again, during these financial crisis times, these type of things are going to be really important to be able to get negotiated and really provide enormous value to your clients. Step three, once the group sells, and this is another critical piece, the implementation, what we need to do is you're going to complete the employer paperwork immediately. And then you're going to begin the enrollment process. Once you get that employer paperwork, please send that to us. We will go ahead and coordinate with Anthem and set up the benefits and get the employer access up and running. It is really important to go parallel. You're going to be focusing on the open enrollment meeting. We'll be focusing on getting that employer access up and running. We had a number of groups that were, the employer paperwork was sent in with the employee applications, and we lost time during that process. So we will be going parallel. While you're doing the open enrollment, we'll be getting the employer access set up. This saves a lot of time throughout that process. Step four, the group is going to complete the open enrollment, and then you'll either provide us the paper applications or you're going to send us the census. So during the fourth quarter last year, we received a lot of the applications, and we have a team with Heather and her team, and they simply load those applications directly into the Anthem system, which is employer access. That is really where the 3 to 5 days is saved. It goes straight into the system. What does that do? It allows the group to get approved quicker. The ID cards are mailed to the employees. And while those ID cards are en route, we're going to get you a list of the member IDs, so that way the employees can access service and then receive their ID cards. And so that way the process works very smooth. So now let's talk about the underwriting. How does this process work? As you know, you can have up to four plans allowed, but also the participation is something that oftentimes is very confusing when it comes to Anthem. And you have two scenarios. One is when you have a group that's 100% Anthem only, and number two is when you have it Anthem alongside a Kaiser, which is typically what we see. Now, when we say the 50% of total eligibles and 75% net eligibles, whichever one is greater, this is where there starts to be some confusion. And we want to go through a couple of examples to make sure that doesn't happen to you on any of your groups. Also, there is that minimum contributions, 50% of the employee rate. For virgin groups, we typically don't see virgin groups that are over 100 starting off, but if you do have them, they need to be in business 1 or more years. Union carve-outs are allowed, but that whole group must have 101 full-time equivalents. There is no maximum out of state. As we're seeing more and more employees getting hired out of state, Anthem understands that, so this is really a kind of a non-issue. And then when we have groups moving from small to large, they simply sign that attestation form, and that census simply has to be over 101 employees. Unfortunately, during this time that we're all going through, the groups are going the other way. The groups are going from large group to small group. We do have a tool that outlines exactly what's needed when we see a group go from large to small. Typically, we encourage you to hold on to that large group quote until renewal, and then look at your options. But sometimes we see employers, specifically now, trying to bail out early and try to get small group quotes to see if they can get more price concessions. So let us know. We have a tool to show you what's going to happen in those types of scenarios as well. And last is re-rating. This is going to come up a lot. So if you send us a census for 150 for a group that's going to start 9/1, between now and then, that census may drop by more than 10%. If that does happen, unfortunately, Anthem reserves the right to re-rate, so please keep that in mind. The rates you get may not be the rates at the time of implementation, so we want to make sure that it is transparent and that there's no surprises. Participation, and this is the question of the day that our family has had a lot of banter over back and forth. Are participation trophies good or bad for kids? When my kid received a 9th place ribbon for swimming, I couldn't believe it. But anyway, if you have a comment on that, let me know. But as we talk about participation, let's get into this and let's give some examples of how participation works. The one we're going to be talking about now is Anthem only, and this would be a group of 150 employees all enrolling with Anthem. How many do we need? So when we look at this example, let's just look at the example group, 150 eligible employees. We're going to have 25 valid waivers. So when you look at the calculation down below, you're going to see 50% of total eligibles. That's simply taking the 150 times 50% equals 75. So a lot of folks think all we need is 75. However, we have to look at the 75% of net eligibles. And that simply means taking the total head count minus the valid waivers times 75 equals 94. So in this example, we would need 94 bodies to enroll in Anthem to be able to have the Anthem plan. So please be careful when you do these calculations. Sometimes what gets communicated to the group is all we need is 75, and we did have an example like that. So we want to make sure that this does not happen to you. Now let's talk about the more common example. What happens when we actually have Anthem alongside another carrier? How does that work? And it works like this. You're going to be looking for not only the 50% of total eligibles, which is going to be the 75, like we saw in our previous example, but also you have to have 50% of net eligibles. And what that means, let's look down at our calculation. You're going to have 50% divided by 150 divided by 2 is going to be over 75. And then you're going to take the 50% of net eligibles. And this is taking the 150 minus valid waivers minus your Kaiser enrollees, and then taking that by 50%, and that equals 50. The greater of those two is 75. So in this example, you would need 75 to enroll in Anthem to have those large group rates. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions, by the way. We'll make sure that, as I mentioned, at the end of this, you will have a complete copy of this presentation, along with all of the questions and answers that are being sent to me throughout the process. Now, what about rates, commissions, and quoting? How does that work? Well, as far as rates go, they're typically available 4 months in advance, and during times like now, we are starting to see even quoting even farther out. So what happens when a group, so sometimes we see the group, and this happened a couple of times during 1/1, when the employer will go ahead and try to contact out with 2 brokers to see if they can get better rates. You want to discourage them from doing that, and here's why. As soon as somebody, Anthem, receives a duplicate quote, everything stops. They're going to have to go ahead and do a complete evaluation of both proposals, both censuses, making sure that the data is exactly the same. If there's questions between the two, they're going to have to go back. And then they're going to release the exact quote at the same time. And all of this slows the process down. So please just be mindful of that. There's also a trend guarantee with these rates. Last year typically is about 10%. It's a pooled renewal, so that way you'll understand that this 101 to 300 is a pooled product, so just be mindful of that. The quoting, as we mentioned, it's going to have the form that we put together, and it takes about 5 to 7 business days for the turnaround time for the quotes. Obviously, during 1/1, that time frame may be longer, so just be mindful of that. The standard commission is 5%. If you'd like more or less, let us know. That is obviously going to be impacted in the rates. And again, I just want to say it one more time, it is a true GA override. So the rates, the commissions, and the broker bonuses are identical to going direct. There is no difference, and Anthem Blue Cross will validate that. And it's really important to have that understanding. You are getting all the background team support, and as we talk, and we'll talk about in just a moment, the additional financial partnership as well. And that leads me right into this. So this is what you get by working with Beere&Purves. You have two options. One is you can enhance the benefits of the Anthem large group plan that is currently being put in place, and we call that the Alliance Access Plan. And what does that mean? That means that you're going to go ahead and get ID theft resolution. Now, when you hear about ID theft, we're hearing about, unfortunately, there's a huge problem with stolen identities. We're giving out our information over the web, and we are seeing an increase in that. Not only does it let you know that your ID has been stolen, it helps you resolve it. So this is a big help compared to a lot of companies that just make you aware that your identity has been compromised. Number two, you have a legal club. And we used this on a large group that we sold a couple of months ago. We had somebody that got a speeding ticket in another state and needed an attorney, and they were able to use this legal club benefit in order to get that issue resolved. And number three is the global emergency services. We hope none of you have any injuries or illnesses when you're out of the country, but this will provide you with your emergency services, where they will either bring you back to the U.S. or bring loved ones to you. This is all included on top of your Anthem large group quote or your Health Net large group quote. The value of this is $6. So if you're in a competitive situation with another broker, by bringing this to the table automatically may put you in an advantage. And that's why I keep stressing there's a strategic advantage of partnering with us, because your base rates are going to be the same, but you're now able to offer an enhancement when you're going head-to-head with another broker that went direct. Secondly, if you are the only broker that's involved in the situation, you have the option of us partnering with you in order to go ahead and help provide financial assistance. During these financial times, a lot of agencies are trying to figure out, as they're processing all of these cancellations. We received over 100 cancellations from one broker last week, and he focuses in the area, in the winery and restaurant business. It was heartbreaking to see all of these cancellations coming through. The broker was really in a state of panic watching all of these get processed. So a lot of agencies are going through some financial hard times right now. This is how we can help. In the example where we have, let's say, a 200 life group, and let's say they all go with Anthem, we are going to provide you with the 200 life group, $4 for every person. So that is $800, 200 times 4. And then we apply that every single month that the group is in place. So 800 times 12 is $9,600 that you will receive in a year to offset your cost to service that group. That can be your online enrollment. It can be helping with other expenses that you're being asked to help out with. It's really going to provide a huge financial safety net and increase your profitability for your agency. Now let's talk about what happens when they go from Anthem and Kaiser. Well, what we do in that example is we give $2.50 for the Anthem folks and the Kaiser folks. So in that example, if we had a 200 life group times $2.50, that equals $500 a month. Times 12 is $6,000 a month that you will have for your agency in order to help offset your costs associated with that employer. If you have any questions about how this works, please let me know. Berlin in the office, she's the one that we talked about. We talked about broker picks or broker choice. This is exactly what we're talking about, to make sure as your partner, we are sharing and making sure that you are have the means necessary to service that group and put yourself in a very strong position to attract and retain groups going forward. So now let's talk about some of these supplemental benefits that oftentimes get kind of swept under the rug. They don't really get much attention, but they really provide a really essential part of an overall package. Now with Anthem Blue Cross, you'll see that they have an accident, a critical illness, and hospitality. These are available, so please take advantage of them. Oftentimes these are lump sum, they're portable, they're guarantee issue, and there's no pre-existing conditions. So please take advantage of these, and when we provide you with your medical quote, we can include these as well. Also, what Anthem includes, they have their Living Healthy and all these additional items, which oftentimes don't get communicated as strongly as they should. So please make sure that you're communicating all of these items to your groups at time of enrollment. Now we'll talk about briefly CalSavers, and this is simply a new law that's coming out. It's effective on June 30th, 2020, and it's basically mandating that all employers over 100 employees offer a employee saving opportunity. And if it is not done, then there is a fine, and the fine is $250 per eligible employee. Now, I don't know if this has been pushed back given our whole situation we're currently dealing with, but this is important for you if you're prospecting blue-collar groups. I was surprised that there are a lot of blue-collar groups that don't offer a 401k. So this is a way to have this put in place. We do partner with a company called Human Interest. If you ever need a 401k plan, very inexpensively, high tech, that is the company I would recommend if you need it. Some of the other services that we offer you, competitive by county for HMOs and PPOs, how are deductibles accrued, how does medical Part B interact, what is the billing, cancellation, and installation process. These are all here to provide you with this information. Just like we have that one page before, it consolidates all the information by carrier to make your life very simple. And these links will be included in the information I'll be sending you. eCentral, we have a team that does the eCentral, which is simply the online enrollment. Right now, it's going to be very challenging for you to get paper applications out to an Anthem large group and have everyone fill out the paperwork in their own homes and then scan all that information back. There's a concern about transferring paper because of touching it, and the online enrollment is becoming a greater tool and an asset as we go forward. Once we have the confirmation to go forward, we can go ahead and set up enrollment as a guest into your account. We're only added to that one account, and we will go ahead and set it up. And if you'd like us to, we can monitor it on an ongoing basis. But this is a great way to get your groups enrolled, specifically during these challenging times when employees cannot get together and get the paperwork done quickly. Our EASE program is available to you, so please take advantage of that. And our team is ready to help you should you need it. We also have the broker picks available for small group. These are only on a one-time basis for groups under 100. The groups over 100 are every single month you will get that reimbursement. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. It is now 10:02. Sorry I went over by a couple of minutes. I hope you and your family stay safe, stay healthy. If you have any questions, please email me, send those to the comment box. We will make sure you get all of this information today. And if there's any way we can help you with your Anthem large group, 101 to 300 quotes, and HealthNet, please send us those RFPs. And until then, have a great day.